I'm Lindsey and Katy. And alright, so in 5th grade, you want your students to be able to understand more precise measurements. They may be able to measure with a ruler or measure to the nearest inch, but now we get into more precise measurements such as 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and even 1/16 of an inch, which also gets you into the metric system. Common error is that students don't really understand what those tick marks mean, so what we want to do is get them to recognize those tick marks and that you can measure something to a more precise number.
Some history of measurement is different units of measurement were used in different countries until the late 18th century, and the measurement unit became more important when international trade increased and there needed to be a set unit of measurement. A system of measurement had to be based on an agreed unit measure. The agreed upon units became the standard for the systems of measure. However, they varied from place to place and from time to time.
That's why we still have our own common unit of measurement, the English units, which is different than the metric system that most European countries use. But we get into that. With the earliest standard of measurement used by the Egyptians, it began by using your body parts. So we still have the foot, and this all comes from how it began, where they actually used their foot in measuring, which if you remember at the beginning of the year we read the book, How Big is a Foot? Which is actually how measurement began. They actually did use a standard, like the king's foot was the standard. But 1 foot was equal to 4 palms, and then 1 palm had 4 fingers, because they just talked about your palm as this part. You don't include the thumb. And then the royal cubit was from your elbow to your fingertips, was how they measured, which I think later was also considered a yard. But the later became standardized to the English units that we have today. 1 foot was actually 3 palms. We made it a little bit smaller, and with each palm was 4 inches because you had 4 fingers. And, so therefore the whole foot was 12 inches.
The metric system requires all spatial dimensions to be expressible in terms of the meter. 1-for-10 replacements were used for an addition, were redefined by the Egyptians to be used by measurement units. The counting system and measuring system used the same base as 10, and the United States did not adopt the metric system, but it's been accepted.
As you can see, it's used in science a lot of times.
In many ancient cultures, units of length were based on body parts, like we just said, like with the Egyptians, and the ancient Egyptian unit of lengths were 1 palm is 4 fingers, and 1 royal Egyptian cubit was 7 palms, which was 28 fingers.
And we actually have a really cool activity that you can get your students to use or to understand how it progressed from the Egyptian units where they actually used their body parts to today. And this worksheet will pass. Let me pass it around. Keep on for a second. This it explains to them that the inch was originally, I guess at some point it was also just 3 barley grains, but also the thumb or your index finger from the top to the first knuckle. And what they have you do is you use your body part, so for the inch, the foot, the yard, the hand, the cubit, and so forth, and you go and you measure different objects using your body parts. And then you measure using your own ruler to see how it's different, how you can be more precise by using a standardized unit of measurement. Did everybody get one? Sure. Okay. So I thought that was really cool, and we were going to have you do it. Is it on? So yeah, we were actually going to have you do this, just with the inch, because you can use your thumb. Because I think when I was in elementary school, do you remember ever learning, or when you were in elementary school, do you remember learning that an inch is like your thumb and you can measure it by going like that? So I want you to use your thumb and measure your pencil or your pen that you have with you, and write down what that is. And we're going to pass out rulers. and you can measure with your ruler and see how close to an inch it is. Because with this, you can't give anything more precise than a roundabout inch. So just measure to the nearest inch with your ruler.
So like mark out where your thumb is.
So write somewhere about like around about how many inches it is using your thumb, and then compare that to how many the nearest inch on the ruler.
No, just like this part of your thumb.
Oh, this part.
Yeah.
Alright, so on your thumb, on the tip of your finger to your knuckle.
And that's what it's supposed to be.
That's supposed to be. That's what the Egyptians called an inch.
It's a little bigger though, I feel like.
Yeah.
But measure your book with your finger, and then measure.
No, I think it's a little smaller. Look. Oh yeah, it is bigger.
Yeah, it's about like a quarter.
Yeah, they're round.
Do you have the same? Did anybody get the same thing with their fingers they did with the ruler?
I was 1 inch off.
1 inch off.
Whoa.
I was like the same.
I was about the same.
About the same? Raise your hand if there was like a big difference. Yours was a big difference there? How big of a difference?
Well, my pencil is up 6, a little over 6, and then I got 4.5. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I got 4.5.
She has a big thing. But do you see how you can't, if I were to say an inch is your thumb, or from the top of your thumb to your first knuckle, it's not going to be the same for everybody, because everybody has a different size thumb, which is why we need to create these standards that we then created by the government became what we have as a ruler. This is the English ruler, the English with the common English units, excuse me, of inches. Then we have metric rulers. The metric system uses the meter, as we said. So if you look on the other side of your inch ruler, what's on the other side? Centimeters. Centimeters are part of the metric system. And if you see they're in, actually you can see us better if I give you a metric ruler. That we said that the metric system uses what base? What base? What number base?
Meters, right?
Metric.
The metric system.
What base does the metric system use? Base 10.
Uses base 10. So if you look at your metric ruler, it has centimeters and millimeters. And do you notice anything about it?
Smaller.
I'm sorry, some of them weren't cut very well. So.
But it's smaller.
The lines are a lot closer to the
Lines are smaller. What else?
There are 10.
Yeah,
Because
there's 10
it's
millimeters in
25.
every centimeter.
There are 10 millimeters.
In every,
No.
every centimeter.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the centimeters. There are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. They're all the meters. The metric system has a base 10, so everything's divisible by 10.
Why do we use inches and centimeters when centimeters doesn't really
Too weird.
like add
Because centimeters don't.
it's not really
That's a great point that Lauren just brought up, that if you look at your English ruler with the inches and the centimeters there's never an exact match up to an inch.
Yeah.
It's about 2.54 centimeters is an inch. But that shows you the difference between the metric system and our system, and why we can use the centimeters to make a more precise measurement. Because sometimes our inch, even like a 1/16 of an inch might not be exact, and you can